Hey, good morning, and how are you guys doing today? So, we're back taking that free Harvard course on rhetoric, the art of persuasive writing and public speaking. So far, it's been absolutely a great course. I'm going to be honest, I have picked up a good amount of vocabulary from that course. I thought I had a excellent, where I know I have an excellent vocabulary. The amount of words that I still actually have had to Google has been impressive. Now, just in case you guys want to take a course yourself, I made sure to put a link down in the description below. Of course, I'm not a affiliate or anything for these guys, but if they want to sponsor my channel, I would be more than happy to let Harvard's online stuff or edX sponsor my channel. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into it. As you guys know, when we left off last time, we were at an area where we were going to have to pay a really good attention. Sorry, like I said, I'm doing the the lectures, watching his lectures off of stream because I don't know the copyright status of the material, and so let's just be honest that that's something I've been avoiding having to deal with the issue of. Just so you guys know, with this course, there are 15 hours of lecture material in video form. Okay, so we've already finished the analysis of Heston. I believe we're right here, but I'll double check by going back one. Hold on one second. I just want to get to. So we did this, we read this. I'm going to tell you most of the comments by the peers in the classroom are them introducing themselves and very little actual topical conversation. I mean, there are people that are actually saying stuff that's relative to the topic at hand. So I'm not trying to say that there's zero, but the majority of people seem to use that thing to be like, hey, I'm in this class, which you're supposed to do an introduction post, so that's not a big deal. It just the weight of comments overall is not really a lot of weight of discussion of the actual course. I'm sure it's different in the actual course at Harvard. I'm sure their class is super good about discussing the issues together. You know, it is what it is. Okay, the conclusion that he had on this gun control module is the issue of gun control remains just as contentious today as when these speeches were given. As Professor Engel mentions, the issue at stake is a complex one, not so simple as outlaw all guns versus everyone should always be able to own any kind of gun. Instead, laws must grapple with different kinds of guns, many kinds of situations. These distinctions and their implications will continue to create many opportunities for the power of persuasion to have its effect one way or another on the continuum between careful regulation and open-ended freedom of gun ownership and use. Boom. So then we got into this. Now this is going to be super important because we really are getting ready to write the op-ed for this class. The op-ed for this course specifically is a huge amount of the actual grade for it because we did not pay and we are not receiving our certificate in persuasive writing and public speaking. Our op-ed will not be graded, and neither will our rhetorical oratory speech that if we were in the real course we would be required to give. Okay, I stream every day. I feel that we'll count the amount of public speaking as probably good on my level, but this class has some excellent info for structuring an argument. Honestly, my understanding of how to formally structure an argument is better because of this course. I will have to say that. Absolutely, hands down. Okay, further tips for designing arguments. Think back to your first draft and ask yourself the following questions. What other strategies can you think of for opening your piece? Can you shorten your introduction? Is there a vivid or startling anecdote with which you can begin? Or some other way to command your audience's attention? What kind of narratio suits your argument? Should it be short and sweet? Are there a lot of facts you need to set straight before you make your claim? Are the points of your argument clear and distinct? Is each backed up with evidence? Are they argued in the best order? What about the possible counterarguments? Have you addressed at least the most important one? Might you change where in the composition you discuss it? Does your peroratio recap your argument? If so, does it need to? Is there something you can add here at the end? Something to galvanize or inspire your audience? Something to drive your message home? Valid questions, guys. Okay. No, I have not considered all of these in my first draft that we wrote up, that I actually have just submitted an outline so far. I mean, I have it wrote up. See, look at this. This is where we would submit our op-ed, which we don't get to do. Obviously, it says it right here. Okay. This assignment will be a self-evaluated, the speechwriter assignment, graded by your peers. Submit your draft through the tool below, which we won't have the op-ed, and it's the tool. Oh, there's one right here. Okay, so it's not going to let us really do it, but we have a draft. This is just the draft, though, right? Op-ed first draft. Yeah, we have a first draft already. Oh, how did we get to module 2? You guys, what the crap? I apologize. We ended up going back somehow. I don't understand what happened there. Oh! Because it linked us back there. Okay, never mind. I apologize, you guys. I was so annoyed. Okay, so we're moving forward. We've already submitted. We're in module 4. I apologize for... We'll fix that. I'm going to write that. I don't want to write it this morning. I'd rather move forward on the modules. Let me think through the actual draft of the stuff. I'll write the whole thing live. I want to think it through, and in all honesty, I want to think it through a little bit deeper than 5 a.m. deep. And so I'll think about it through the day as I do stuff. And then tomorrow morning, we'll actually just write the full draft, I believe. Minus if they have us hit it up again. And I believe that they will. Because this professor, in his course lectures, is super about the layered revision strategy where you pick something like I'm going to hit the wording, then I'm going to hit the sentence structure on my next pass through, then I'm going to hit the overall tempo of the narration with my next pass through type stuff. And so it wouldn't shock me if we don't re-hit this again. So just know we will write it tomorrow in full form. Um, and then we'll see what happens from there. It'll be super easy to write. Introduction to Oratory. By the end of this module, you will be able to do the following. Describe the origins of the practice of oratory. Recognize ways in which the orator tailors their writings for the spoken word. Describe techniques for effective public speaking, both prepared and extemporaneous. Brainstorm ideas for your own short speech. We, again, do not get to do the speech because we're not in the course and we're not paying for it. And so it is something that comes with the, hey, we'd have to pay the $209 and be getting full credit. If you guys want, I can prepare a speech for you and throw it down as if we were in it. Background. The Roman teacher of rhetoric, Cicero, divided the discipline into 5 canons or parts: invention, argument, style, memory, and delivery. Okay. The first 3 are keys for all kinds of compositions. The latter 2, however, are only pertinent for pieces of disclosure. Weren't we supposed to have a quiz in there? Hold on, I feel we just missed a quiz that I'm a little distressed about. Remember yesterday when we were looking over stuff, there was a quiz somewhere? Where's the frickin' quiz? Guys, we missed a quiz somewhere. For sure. I don't understand what the heck. We already did that peer analysis. Okay. I don't know where that quiz goes. So did the quiz pop up and then vanish? We don't really get graded on the quizzes anyway. I just wanted to take it for the purposes of basically self-auditing ourselves to make sure that we're understanding the material properly, but it's okay. I do find it interesting that it's an optional thing to share your op-ed at that point. But, okay. I'm going to get a little more coffee in me. I'm obviously discombobulated, and I apologize for that, guys. Okay, let's get back to this. The first 3 are keys for all kinds of compositions. The latter 2, however, are only pertinent for pieces of discourse that you deliver to your audience in person. They make up the study of what today we call oratory, or more simply, public speaking. In Europe, before the 8th century, the study of rhetoric tended to omit the question of public speaking altogether and focused on the first 3 parts above. In the 8th and 9th century, however, there was a rise in interest in delivery and the subject of elocution. Elocution. I am saying that horrible. Let's see how I'm supposed to say this real quick. Hold on one second. elocution. It is elocution. We know these videos are naughty, and they attempt to be naughty. Why is there no sound with this, right? You guys see this? I'm clicking the button. It does nothing. I don't even see the point of that. So let's go. Elocution became a key part of children's education. Oh, that's interesting. In America, in the 19th century, grade school textbook called a grade school no, it is grade school textbooks called speakers, like those of William McGuffrey and Charles Sanders, abounded, each offering sample pieces of oratory to memorize and perform, along with tips and elocution, modulation, and gestures. Oh, these would be neat to get a hold of. Right? It might be a fascinating thing. School speaker. I wonder how hard those are to get. Maybe we get one of those. That's probably super expensive. Who knows? Okay, today classes on public speaking have become far less common, but the need for these skills in everyday life and a myriad of careers has never diminished. If anything, in this age of TED Talk and YouTube, this need has only increased. If you want to share your message, you must be able to present ideas in front of an audience with clarity and ease. In the second half of this course, you will be working on a piece of writing intended to be given as a speech. The kind of writing comes with its own unique challenges and techniques to bear in mind. We will consider these in two primary categories. First, consideration for writing a piece for oratory delivery, and second, the skills you need for actually delivering the speech and interacting with your audience. Do you guys feel that we should knock out that speech real quick? No, I don't want to do it this morning. Let's move forward and let's swing back and knock out our speech afterwards. I do want to check on what it lists our progress at currently anyway. 44%. I'm really annoyed that so that op-ed itself would be 45% of the weight of this class in graded terms, and the speech itself I'm just looking over. Let's get back to what we're doing. I'm going to leave that up. I might knock out some of the op-ed off stream and just show you guys it tomorrow, in all honesty. I just don't know what to do on that. Let's get back to knocking this out, though, because I'm still discombobulated. I'm trying to think of what to do on that op-ed. I kind of want to just get it out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Let's click in. Let's get moving forward. Okay, writing for speaking. Structure. When you are writing a speech, you should bear in mind that your audience will only have one chance to understand any one thing you say. They can't stop and replay what you said. As a result, you will have to work to make sure that you bring them along with you. It is critical for your speech to have a clear, articulated argument that you refer back to often to keep it fresh in the hearer's mind. Your speech should also have a clear structure, a signal phrase that lets your audience know when you are moving from one idea to the next. To this end, the topic of division is a useful tool. Okay. I believe them on that. Division. The topic of division enumerates the constituent parts of an idea, entity, or argument, and articulates the logical relationship of those parts to each other. Ready? I'm going to get a drink of coffee. I want to talk to you today about three places where we begin to build the great society. In our society, in our country, and in our classrooms. Our society will never be great until our cities are great. Today, the frontier of imagination and innovation is inside those cities and not beyond their borders. It will be the task of your generation to make the American city a place where future generations will come not only to live, but to live the good life. A second place where we begin to build the great society is in our countryside. We have always prided ourselves on being not only American, America the strong, and America the free, but America the beautiful. Today, that beauty is in danger. The water we drink, the food we eat, the very air that we breathe are threatened with pollution. A third place to build the great society is in the classroom of America. There, your children's lives will be shaped. Our society will not be great until every young mind is set free to scan the furthest reaches of thought and imagination. President Lyndon Johnson outlined his domestic policies, the Great Society program, before Congress on January 5th, 1965. I don't think enough people really listened to him on that. It doesn't seem like that worked out that well, but maybe I'm wrong. It's all an opinion, right? Style. Writing for public speaking is also a question of style. Vivid images and figures of speech are valuable tools for capturing and keeping your audience's attention. The use of all of the different forms of repetitions, like parallelism and anaphora, is particularly important. You can see President Johnson's use strategic uses, it should be uses. You can see President Johnson uses strategic repetition in the passage quoted above. He repeats the place to build the great society in some form before each of his points, reminding us at each step what this is a list of. The soundbite. Since the advert of Twitter, by the way, sound bites have been around way before Twitter. Okay, sound bites have been a political thing for years. It has been known in politics that you avoid anything that could be clipped into an 8-second soundbite that could kill your freaking career. Nobody has been confused on a soundbite being taken out of context, and that for sure existed before Twitter and everything. It existed a long time ago, guys. Like, that's been around for a while. Okay, since the advent of Twitter, many people have received their news in teeny snippets. Even when they do watch, listen to, or read the full news story, both written and recorded quotes, sound bites, are incredibly short. The Boston Globe reported in 2012 that the average length of a soundbite in that year's election cycle was just under 8 seconds. Yeah. As a result, you will want to carefully include short, punchy sentences that sum up your point. Providing these easy excerpt snippets is one way to exercise control over how your words will be remembered. That's actually really smart to pre-word in some 8-second sound bites of your own in your speech, freaking really well thought. Like, clap on that, right? I mean, I don't do that, obviously, but smart of them. Um, However, making a short, pithy statement or something important almost always requires that you leave something else important out. Oh, well, that sucks. Make sure the thing that you leave out are things that you can afford to lose when your words are repeated. Okay, valid, right? Woo. Oh, and we're going to get a speech. Okay, I just need to look out how much stuff we're going to read before a speech is hit up. Okay, get ready. This is definitely one of those courses at this time in the morning that you need coffee for. Extemporaneous speaking, outlining and preparing for an unscripted speech. From time to time, you will need to give a speech that you will have no time to write beforehand. Perhaps, for example, you will need to respond in a debate to someone else's speech, or perhaps you will need to respond quickly to some event that just occurred. You may also simply prefer to give your speech extemporaneously. There are certain advantages to this approach. You will be able to connect with your audience more in terms of gestures, postures, and eye contact if you are not busy reading from a script. Extemporaneous speaking also gives you the flexibility of inviting audience participation, which makes you seem more personable and approachable. There are several tactics that you may find useful when preparing to give an unscripted speech. First, you will want a clear and effective outline of your train of thought. This will help you make sure that you will cover each of your main points. It will also help you pace yourself effectively. You will want to know exactly how much time to give each section of your speech. Make sure that there is a clock visible somewhere in the venue where you will be speaking, and that you stick to your plan. Few things are worse than nearing the end of the time and realizing that you have only covered half of your points. Oh, I get what they're meaning there. If you have limited time. I don't like speaking where they're going to cut me off in a few minutes, but whatever. That happens sometimes. Second, compose and memorize 2 or 3 clear sentences for each section of your outline to sum up your point. A good rule is to have a suggestive or surprising opening line, a thought-provoking aside example or subpoint, and a firm, compelling closing statement. These will ensure that you communicate your ideas effectively and give your audience key touchstones to remember your argument with. Third, try preparing each point in your speech with a vivid, effective story or example. Storytelling holds the attention, making your points memorable and helping enliven your talk. Last, make sure you get your facts straight. If you use concrete details, memorize them carefully. Mistakes in facts or erroneous statistics will give critics plenty to talk about and will distract from your central message. For each of these strategies, the most crucial element for success is practice, practice, and more practice. Answer questions. Even if you do give a scripted speech, you will often have to answer questions or interact with the audience or with your audience in some way. Don't worry, there are ways to prepare for this too. Anticipate counterarguments. In each case, try to have a clear, empathetic, and compelling sentence memorized with each to open your response. You can elaborate or expand on that thought or idea, but it is important to address it firmly and clearly. Use questions as opportunities. There may be some additional points that you don't have time to cover, but you suspect your audience may be curious about. Be prepared to take any relevant questions as opportunities to expand and elaborate your argument. Again, memorize short sentences with which to open your additional points. See, if it's extemporaneous, I don't know when you're doing all this pre-memorizing. I don't mean like great, but if it really is extemporaneous and like at the spur of the moment, blah blah blah, or I guess that's if no, I'm not going to memorize the speech. I'm just going to roll in. I don't know, whatever. It's probably what they mean. Don't be afraid to reiterate when questions are raised that your speech already addressed. Be patient with your audience. They are giving you a valuable opportunity to repeat your points. If those points matter enough to say once, they matter enough to say again and again. If you do not know the answer to a question, do not be afraid to say so. Being evasive or hedging will be transparent to your audience and damage your ethos tremendously. And I'm going to tell you, in his lectures, he gives a whole bunch of examples of when speakers have damaged their ethos and their credibility on an ethical level. And it is almost impossible, if you damage your ethos perspective for an audience, the way they view you ethically, right, to recover a speech. So if all of a sudden I did something unethical in the background and came back and sat down like nothing happened, it would be super hard for you guys to move on and pretend away that situation. And it's the same thing in a speech. If in the middle of your speech you decide to jaw-droppingly lie bold-faced to the audience, and it is apparent to them, it doesn't matter how much of your speech around it in both directions is amazing. Nobody gives a shit. Like the second that you have spent your ethical capital that you have with your audience, you're done. And that is from the lectures that the course gives, and I do agree with it. I believe it's fully true. Okay, let's move forward. An example: Harvard Kennedy School professor David Gergen began his career as a speechwriter for President Richard Nixon. He went on to become Nixon's director of speechwriting, then director of communication for President Ford and Reagan. Professor Gergen also served as a special advisor to President Bill Clinton. In the video below, he describes Bobby Kennedy's tribute to Martin Luther King Jr. as a moving example of unscripted oratory. Robert Kennedy, extemporaneous speech. Honestly, this should be good. I've heard Robert Kennedy was an excellent speaker. Be prepared. Let's do this.
There is a classic in American politics.
I need to click.
Comes out of 1967, and Bobby Kennedy is on his way to a rally, maybe 68. He's on his way to a rally in Indianapolis, and it's a very mixed crowd, a lot of African Americans in the crowd that he's going to be speaking to. And he learns shortly before he gets up on the stage that Martin Luther King Jr. has been shot.
Oh.
And he learns just as he's going up on the stage that he's actually died. Very hard. Remember, Kennedy's brother had been shot not long before that. And you listen to that speech, it's absolutely a wonderful speech, very emotional. He recalled how his brother died. He talked about hatred in the country, but he also was able to you draw upon poetry and philosophy from the ancients, from the Greeks, which he had.
Can we find this speech, you think?
Reflecting upon after he lost his brother. And it's just a wonderful example of someone who understands and comes from a place of passion, going to that passion, but doing it with an eloquence that surpasses almost anything else you could imagine. It's one of the last great speeches in politics.
Well, is it just somewhere out there? I don't know, guys. I have no idea. It could be somewhere out there. Wait, can we click to it? We don't want to join. We just want to watch the speech. Okay. We're at the Kennedy, um, what is this? Presidential Library. 5-minute runtime. We're going to actually listen to the speech that guy. I don't want to accept anything. We're going to just listen to the speech that guy just said stuff. They said that the copyright on this is in the public domain too. So we can just do this. Boom. Ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm only going to talk to you just for
Oh, it's a
minute or
black
so this
screen.
evening because I have some very sad news for all of you.
That's a little weird.
Could you lower those signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you.
I think
and
we can exit full
sad
screen.
news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land with an effort to understand, compassion, and love. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times. My favorite poem, my favorite poet was Aeschylus. And he once wrote, "Even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black.
I wish there was video of this.
So I ask you tonight to return home, to say a prayer for the family Martin Luther King. Yeah, it's true. But more importantly, to say a prayer for our own country, which all of us love. A prayer for understanding and that compassion of which I spoke. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past, but we will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness, and it's not the end of disorder. But the vast majority of white people and the vast majority of black people in this country want to live together, want to improve the quality of our life, and want justice for all human beings that abide in our land. And what dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that and say a prayer for our country and for our people. Thank you very much.
Right? Dang. Good. Okay, so that was an audio recording of Senator Robert F. Kennedy announcing the news of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. During his presidential campaign. I wonder if that affected the presidential campaign. That was so well spoken, and in all honesty, his ability to, like, his pacing and the calmness of how he delivers stuff is absolutely impressive. Like, legitimately, that is excellent delivery. So here's my plan, because it's already 5:41. What I would like to do is I'd like to call it here before we start another video and stuff like that. Tomorrow morning, I want to go back, write up our op-ed, even though we don't get graded on it. We're going to properly write it up in a writing program and then submit it. And so I'll click up a Word document or something like that before stream tomorrow. We will write and submit the op-ed. Then we will hop back over here to Module 4 in this section. Currently, we are having issues controlling a mouse. Man, Kennedy's just freaking, we're at least at 45%, which really, in all honesty, will be well past the 50% by the end of tomorrow. So, that's a good sign. We'll knock out the op-ed tomorrow. We'll listen to more stuff. This was day 11. I honestly believe that we'll wrap this up in the next 11 days. Easy, if not sooner. I am going to say that this is super impressive. The class has been absolutely a blast so far. I hope you guys have a great day. I want to thank you for waking up, having coffee with me, helping to just basically be there and help me be consistent about knocking this out. Outside of that, just peace, very best wishes, and you guys have a great day.